This is my video response to Act of Faith Part 2, and although I could have elaborated more on my comment on Part 1, I will now concentrate on Part 2. You refer to the biblical person known as Abraham, and you express your ideas and thoughts about the covenant that he made with this entity that for some reason, which I understand, you refuse to call him as he is called in the Bible, as God. Anyway, one point that it's worth making is that the communication between this entity and Abraham was not initiated by Abraham. Abraham was an ordinary person living in the city of Ur, which is today is in a territory of Iraq, and he was a normal, ordinary person. He lived an ordinary life. The culture at that time did have the knowledge and understanding of the existence and manifestations of God, not through documented materials, but through traditions and through stories and all those things. So Abraham did know who God was even before he ever heard of him talking to him. On the other hand, because the initiative of a communication between Abraham and this entity was of this entity, we cannot blame Abraham of initiating it or establishing a covenant, which basically it was again the initiative of this entity. Indeed, Abraham is considered by the three prominent religions in the world, Judeo, Christian, and Islam, as being the patriarch of all of them. We have to take into consideration that they were not born or formed at the same time. The Judeo culture was born with not even with Abraham, but with Isaac, his son, who later on was renamed by God Himself as Israel. Jacob. Jacob was renamed as Israel, and from that moment on, his tribe was considered the people of God. Christianism was born approximately 4,000 years later through the life and teachings and activities and sacrifice of Jesus Christ while He was on earth. And it continued through the teachings and preachings of His apostles, His disciples, and so on, all the way to our days. Islam was born in a few centuries later, and was put together, to say so, by Muhammad. So the three of them were not born at the same time. I would say that because God made Himself known to Abraham, and later on through the rest of the Israelites, through His word, through His written word, we have a document that proves that the contact was made by a superior being who was known to be the creator of the universe, and in essence good and righteous, and with high morals and high standards. I accept the fact that mankind, through its wickedness, has distorted the truths and teachings that God has given them. Even from the beginning, we remember that even after God gave Abraham the law, shortly after, as soon as they entered the promised land, they started to violate that law and to change the law to fit their own needs and to exercise power and influence over our populations. And that has happened with the Judeans, with the Israelites. It happened with Christianity after the Roman Empire adopted Christianity as its official religion, and it has been used by the Roman Empire to manipulate and to control the Christian faith. And in the same way, Muhammad, when he wrote, quote unquote, wrote the Quran and other Islamic scriptures, he did so in order to control and to dominate the Arab world. What I would like to make a statement here is that this contact that this being, this entity has established with mankind is a personal relationship, a personal communion between each individual and this entity. Save some of the rules and laws that this entity has established for mankind, which in essence, if we look at them closely, especially the Ten Commandments, they have been given for the benefit of mankind. What was wrong 6,000 years ago, it's still wrong today. Anyway, that's another issue that we can discuss. But the point is that the fact that some people, some groups have taken a well-written, well-designed, well-conceived set of rules and regulations and moral and ethical laws and distorted them to use them for their own benefit does not nullify the goodness and the benefit of those laws. Again, it's a personal relationship between the Creator, between that entity, and each person. We are to be careful not to judge a religion based on the actions of people who, in fact, violates the very principles of those religions. I'm getting close to the end of this message, so I will consider maybe expanding a little bit more about the topic. I find it very interesting, and I thank you for bringing it up.